watch Dan.
Here you go.
I'm just going to listen to Dan.
You're going to listen to Dan? All right. So I just wanted to hear from you guys. I mean, you're doing things well right now. You're taking listings. Based upon our conversation earlier, you realized the buyer side of things is still really important as well. So I'll direct the first question to you, Dan. What are you doing right now to continue the momentum when other agents out there are looking at this and saying, you know, this is hard?
To continue the momentum.
Yeah.
That's a good question. So I had no idea what questions you were going to ask.
I did that on purpose.
You know, it's about consistency, right? So I'm a big believer in successful people do what unsuccessful people won't do. And it's sometimes hard to kind of get going, but you know, I have simple routines that I've put in place. Some people do weekly schedules. Everybody has their own thing. For me, I have goals, right? You know, your family, your children, your wife, you know, your bills sometimes will kind of let you know what your goals are.
Yes.
So, and it's not always easy to, you know, sit down and make the phone calls, to do the follow-ups, to send the emails, to do the extra touches, especially when when you know a lot of it is going to end up in rejection, right? But if you stay consistently driving forward, the successes will come. You know, it obviously hasn't been easy, but we've had a lot of success with it. So I'd say consistency is a big piece of it to continue driving forward.
So what does that consistency look like to you?
So I have simple routines. You know, it's chaotic with 4 children and sports, and sometimes the sports kind of control your schedule.
Yeah.
I have a goal to at least work 2 or 3 nights a week, and my power hour is from 5 to 8 p.m. So if I can't do my follow-ups.
Sorry.
All right. He wanted to make me feel shorter.
You guys want to switch seats?
Mara thought that was really funny. So, what was the question?
What
5 to 8 p.m.
what is
Yeah, so my
consistency look like to you?
so for me, some consistencies that I have every week are when I wake up every single morning, and I wake up pretty early in the morning, is I read the news on real estate. Okay, I want to educate myself on what's going on with real estate, with interest rates, what news articles are relevant to what's happening in our area. Why? Because our customers are reading this stuff. They're trying to get informed, especially if they're thinking about buying or selling. So you have to know what's going on. If they know more than you, they're not going to trust you, right? So you have to be informed. So that's the first thing that I do every single day. My days are backwards from what Jeff Glover teaches. He says, own the morning. I don't own the morning. My coffee owns my morning. That's kind of like my Zen time after I get the kids to bed. I usually, the second half of the morning, I'm doing more of my admin stuff. And you know, following up with agents, following up with contracts, figuring out who's in inspections, managing appraisals, going to properties. A lot of that stuff is most of the first half of my day. After lunch, if I'm not done with that, sometimes I have some downtime, but I will start to organize what I'm going to be doing in my evenings.
Yeah.
Right? And then my 5 to 8 p.m., like that is my drive time. That you guys who are at the office will see me go get my coffee at 4:30 at 4:30. I'll just make myself a small cup of coffee just to kind of give myself that extra boost, and I will hit the phones from 5 to 8 p.m. And that is where the vast majority of my business has come from. If I can't get it in enough nights, then my punishment is that I don't get a weekend day. So I will work Saturday and Sunday from home and make sure that I get those dials in. So
To be clear, the reason why Jeff Glover and Gary Keller say to own the morning, win the day, get it all done first is because the majority of agents don't have the willpower to, by the time the afternoon comes, still go and do what most people consider hard, which is the lead generation side of it.
Jeff is not married and doesn't have children. So it's not, and for those who... And
That's fair.
So I get it. But at one point or another, if you're going to be a realtor and you want to have success, then you have to make the time to do the things that are necessary, whether it's going to be the door knocking, the prospecting over the phones, or whatever your lead gen is going to be. If you don't make the time for it, then you're just not a realtor.
Yeah. All right, Jason, what are you doing right now?
I'm not I don't need this.
You do because it's
Deal?
recorded.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, Mom.
All right. I am not doing what Dan's doing,
Okay.
which is good and bad. Like he's a worker. I'm a worker, just in different ways. And he's achieving a lot of success, and that's why I've been recognizing that since we brought him on when he joined KW, and
Yeah.
and so part of my strategy is different. I've never really been effective on the buy side, but I've been really effective on the listing side. So that's where I continue to focus, and that's what I'm just trying to do. And I don't think listings are flying off the shelves right now, but I'm just kind of collecting inventory, which was hard to do during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I think I'm just staying the course and continuing to speak to my sphere, speak to the network, get listings. I'm going to list 3 more properties this week. The other thing I've been doing is kind of like, it's kind of weird that Richard mentioned, all the neighborhoods that are kind of switching.
Yeah.
Some are still sellers markets, some are buyers markets. So I've never really confined myself to one area, and more so than ever before, since it's become a tougher market, I've found myself like collaborating with agents in other markets. And so I've been collaborating with Dan. I've been collaborating with some Palm Beach agents that I have gotten closer to, forming relationships with like-minded agents who are very, very focused on the task. And the task now is, in my view, listing property. Even if it takes a little bit longer to sell these properties, your job goes from listing properties to not just fielding 1 billion offers like we did 2 years ago, but having conversations with sellers and explaining to them that we're in a balanced market and setting expectations, things like that. And those types of conversations ultimately maybe days on market's longer, but if you get in the habit of listing properties and managing clients' expectations, I think that you'll set yourself up well. And I have not sold a lot of properties, but I've been listing a lot of properties. So, if you were representing buyers this particular last 3 or 4 months, you've done well because it has kind of changed the market. So for me, properties are sitting and my clients are kind of upset because they're not really upset with me. They're upset at the fact that it's a lot harder than it was when their friends sold 8 or 9 months ago. And we're hearing it. And the reality is they should have put their market up 8 or 9 months ago. All good things come to an end, and things are slowing down. But elections change things. I think more people will probably utilize. We'll see that the fact that this stock market's gone literally crazy, maybe divest a little bit and start refocusing money into tangible assets. You never know what's going to happen. So Q1 of 2025 could see an uptick with more people coming in and buying properties. So I'm in collection mode.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing.
And Dan, to that point about buyers, Dan, you mentioned you kind of saw that and you looked and said, okay, because listings aren't selling as quickly right this moment, I'm going to have to pivot a little bit. Talk to us about that.
So when I got here to Keller Williams, approximately a year ago with no pipeline and
A
no
year and
yeah.
13 days ago?
Yeah. I had no pipeline. I had no idea how to go out there and go and get business, right? And I'll try and make this piece short, but I do think it's important to start here. So, when I interviewed with Jason, he said, go read MREA, right? And I did. I did that weekend. And when I came back a few days later and I told him I read it and I was ready to get started, right? And I got on the phones and I started to get listings. Got 6 listings inside of my first 60 days. But they weren't selling. 1 got under contract fast. The other 5 weren't really selling. So I'm like, well, all right, I need money. So I said, where can I get the money? I need to find buyers that are willing to transact, right? Not really knowing where to start. I'm starting to realize this come January. When I went to family reunion in February, I was very intentional. I wanted to find out what the top agents were doing, how they were building teams, how they were generating leads, what systems and processes did they have in place to nurture those leads, to find the buyers, to get them ready to transact. I had felt that, okay, I have a system in place to get listings. I needed to figure out the other half of the business. So I did. And when my first listing closed, I used the money to start putting those processes in place. And today, half of my business is buyers. The other half is sellers. I have 8 listings that are active on the market. I have 1 under contract, right? We've closed approximately 23 or 24 transactions year to date, and half of them are buyers. I started to work on my buyer side of the business in January and February, and that started to come full swing for me by the summertime. And so for that reason, that's where half of my transactions have come from. And I know that, here we say list to last, list to last, list to last. However, a lot of, we're realtors because, we want some independence. We are rewarded well for transacting. And I felt that we were just missing out on half the business. So today, I $dollars on getting leads. I have processes in place, right, to nurture those leads, to communicate with those leads, to get them to the point where they're ready to transact, and then we get highly efficient on getting them, to go see houses and buy and transact. So I needed that to supplement my business. Jason's been in the business for 20 years. He's collecting inventory. He doesn't say no to a listing. That's something I've learned from him. I'll go take the listing, set expectations. If they want to be overpriced, great. Let's go to market overpriced. Just so you know, if we get no offers in 15 days, no traffic in the door, bigger price reduction. If we get feet in the door, but we don't get offers, then that's a smaller price reduction. But you set the expectations early on. So I'm just collecting the inventory too, but I'm not blind to the fact that there are buyers. And in fact, some of my largest transactions this year have been buyers. We closed 2.2 in 7 Bridges. We just closed 1.1, in Parkland Bay.
Way to go.
Yeah. So I would say that right now, working on buyers, there are buyers that are moving to Florida from out of state. And there are people who want to downsize. There are people who, have children who want to buy a bigger home. So, in the last 7 days, we've picked up 3 new buyers. 3 new buyers. I believe that Layla, my wife, and I have probably our first $3.5 million baked into next year already, on the table. So that's what we're doing. And to answer your question.
Yeah, so what I hear you saying is when opportunities present themselves, you're not turning business away. You're not looking at it and saying, that's not a listing. You're going and finding a way to accommodate for that. And some of that is Layla helping you out, right?
Yeah, she's a huge part of the business, right?
Yeah.
She's half the business. We have processes in place. So guys, go read MREA. You have to put processes in place, leads, leverage, listings. So you have the leads, you generate the lead. Layla and I, we work as a team, so we leverage one another, right? I'm better having the initial conversation / consultation with the customer over the phone. So I will set the expectation in that phone call, and I will kind of tee it up for Layla. You know, we're a husband and wife team, and I also believe in, you know, we sell ourselves, we sell our firm, right? Like, we're with Keller Williams, right? We're the largest franchise brokerage in the country. You know, we have 180,000 agents underneath our brand. Sell the brand. It goes a long way in building trust, especially for newer agents. That's what I've used. Sell yourselves. You know, we tell people, you know, what a great job we've done, how many properties we've sold this year. And I tee it up for Layla. She shows the houses, right? She's out there with buyers. If she can't, I will, right? It's not that it's beneath me to show houses. I just prefer to also work at nighttime, you know, on the phone. So we leverage off of one another. And then we, you know, once they're ready to transact, we do comps. I have another conversation with, you know, the buyer. We talk about, this is where I believe the property will trade for. Here's our strategy to negotiate to get us that price. And that's our process, right? So if you build the processes in your business, then you can start to replicate and scale it.
Good. All right, Jason, I got 2 questions for you. One, you kind of snuck it right under the rug, and you didn't give it a whole lot of attention, but you said you've got 3 listings that are coming on this week.
Okay.
I mean, that's awesome. Give it up for that. That's great. What are your lead generation efforts to make that happen? Where is your business coming from? I know you have a really big sphere, but how frequently are you communicating with it?
I mean, I spend all day, every day, communicating with the sphere, and whether it's real estate related or not, you know, just by merely communicating with them, they know what I do. So inadvertently, there's always that kind of humming in the background that
Yeah.
I'm an agent, and you know,
And you do a lot of lead generation when you're driving from place to place, right?
when I what?
When you're driving from place to place, like you're just on the phone with people all day.
Listen, you know, you're constantly, whether you think so or not, you're constantly communicating your value proposition. You know, like when you offer to help somebody, or whether I'm always, you know, for instance, there's a listing I'm taking in Heron Bay this week. That particular owner, her best friend's a realtor. And I basically said, listen, if you want to go with that agent, do it. The ability to kind of remove yourself from the outcome and let them come to the right decision is the key to the whole thing. You can't really be holding on so tight. There were 2 other agents in the mix. And I only thought there was 1 agent in the mix, but there ended up being 2 agents in the mix. And I literally told these people, if you want to go with the other agent, do it. And then at the end of the day, they came back to me and they said, you know, would you be willing to work out something? And I did, you know, some referral fee or whatever, because you don't want to offend people and you don't want to have bad karma and all that. But at the end of the day, for me, there's like, you know, they've joked about it a lot in this office about, you know, more people have real estate licenses than driver's licenses.
Yeah.
I mean, every single person has a real estate license, you know, and so
Or they're getting it.
I just, you know, that's just part of doing business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my business is talking to as many people as I can. It's not as streamlined as Dan's business. I think Dan's got a knack for processes that really exceed my processes. My process is to make sure that I'm having conversations all day long.
Yeah.
Those conversations translate into opportunities, and ultimately my goal is to convert some of those opportunities into listings and future business. And from there, we go on and on and on and on. It just so happens that right now, you know, my listing to sales ratio is not really off the charts right now because I'm not selling a lot of stuff, but I'm listing a lot of stuff. So, but the, kind of like the triple L, leads, listings, leverage, you can't sell anything if you don't list anything.
Correct.
So I'm not thrilled about what my year's looking like right now, but I'm in a lot worse of a position if I'm not listing these properties.
Correct.
So I'm listing lots of properties. And the more important part of the listing properties for me is the monetization of the property. Whereas in the pandemic, you're listing a property and you don't even get a real chance to monetize it because it sells in 4 seconds.
Yep.
As opposed to now I want to take a listing and maybe I get a buyer, but I definitely want to get another listing from that listing, from it drawing eyes on the listing, people calling about it, prospective sellers calling about it, so that you can have those conversations and actually get another listing and another listing and another listing.
Yeah, and that was one of the things I remember you saying about during the pandemic. It was one of the hardest times for your business because you weren't actually able to share your value proposition of here's what I actually do to market your home. Here's what I do to put as many eyes on your home. And it was much different for you then.
I mean, it was different for me only because, that I actually wanted days on market.
Yeah.
At least a month.
Yeah.
To have something on the market for a day so that the seller could essentially tell you, I can do this myself, is not the easiest thing to hear.
Correct.
And it's also not exactly untrue in that particular time. If you were a seller and put your house on the market, you got 50 offers. Whether you negotiated it successfully or not, you still got the offers though.
Correct.
Now it's kind of in reverse. It's either feast or famine now. So, look, I'm just having pointed conversations with prospects, and now I'm finding myself having pointed conversations with my sellers.
So speaking of that, how frequently are you communicating with your sellers? Just about what's going on in the market, what's going on with their property? How often is that?
I'm doing it at least 1 to 2 times a week.
Okay.
And I'm the one that initiates because I don't want to be on the end of
Yes.
what's going on.
So do you have like a specific day that you set that up, or you just make sure every listing?
We
once a week
always
is
send
getting
out emails on Friday.
Okay.
And we always send out emails. This is above and beyond any updates with specific showings.
Yeah.
Just kind of like a, hey, going into the weekend, just want to let you know that this is this, and this. Because the last thing you want to do with a market that is kind of lackluster is not be talking to your clients, because then they think you're kind of like hiding.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not what we're doing. I think you just need to, and I've had many conversations with clients who have set the list price, and we know that it's a bit aggressive. But the conversation doesn't need to be, there's no activity or it's a weak market. The conversation should be positive. Here's what the positive part of the conversation is. We went out at your price. Now you know
Yeah.
that basically we're not getting the bites that you wanted, and that when we lower it, you don't have to worry, oh, I could have gotten more. We tested the market. So a lot of sellers' issues with pricing is that they always think they could have gotten more. Once you start testing the market and they see that, I think they're more like, okay, we tried it my way. I now know for sure that I couldn't get this number.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to start chasing it down. Let's just put it at the right price, see where the market lines up, and move from there.
Okay. Last question for each of you in a minute or less. What advice would you give to agents who to take advantage of the market that we're currently in?
Well, to take advantage of either market, first of all, we're in a shifting market, so I would read MREA, I would read Shift. I think Shift has been instrumental in some of my thought over the last 6 months in regards to our business. And then just consistency. If you want to take advantage of any market, right? So in Shift, you're going to learn that you're either in a seller's market or a buyer's market. If it's a balanced market, it's balanced for a short period of time while it's in transition from one to the other, right? So if you're in a seller's market, then you want to find listings. If you're in a buyer's market, you want to find buyers. If you want to take advantage of either one of those markets, then focus on how to generate your leads in the markets that you want to be in. If you're looking for buyers, focus on finding your buyer leads and your processes to work those buyer leads, and vice versa on the sell side, right? But either one doesn't come without hard work and consistency.
All right, Jason, same question for you.
What was the question?
What advice would you give to agents to take advantage of the market we're currently in?
Kind of a generalized advice. Number one, I would say, especially if you're newer to the market, this might not be the most popular thing to say, but I would say, number one, stay off social media. The comparative value of social media right now with who's selling what is a complete time suck and waste of your time. If you guys ever see me on social media or a post that I do, just so you understand how I do that post, I don't have social media on my phone. So what I'll do is I sign in, online, do my post, sign off, okay? Because I can't get involved in this one sold an $80 million house on Fisher Island. I can't get involved in that because my business is slower. So if I start looking at that and doing all this comparative nonsense, it just takes a lot of time away from what I'm trying to do now and in 6 months from now, okay? And the other thing I would do is I would say that if you're newer, that you should consider collaborating with experienced agents because I got to get 100%. I think if you're able to collaborate with agents and piggyback on what they're doing and present as a team and then utilize those opportunities to build your own opportunities, I think it will kind of help you gain momentum, confidence, and other things as opposed to just trying to go it alone the whole time and just hoping. And, I just think there's a lot of opportunity if you engage with the right agents. And
especially for newer agents. I
Yep.
think that's a huge piece. I mean, I'm doing that with Jason now.
Mhm.
I've been doing that from the beginning, from the day that I walked in.
Great.
Taking Gonzalo, another agent, on listings and sharing 50% of the commissions. It wasn't easy when you need money, but you have a deal on the table. You want somebody to knock that down.
Yeah.
My first largest listing appointment happened to be a $40 million listing. I didn't say, hey, all right, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. I was like, hey, I got to tell you about this guy, Jason Kapit. So, and I put Jason in front of, that seller.
And we didn't get it yet. But here's the thing about the opportunity when you collaborate with people is that it gives you another talking point. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to talk about the same thing every other agent's talking about when you call somebody. Hey, we just listed this house. Oh, how much experience do you have? I'm new, but I'm just got my first listing.
Yeah.
Are they going to get into the semantics of did you get that listing or who's on your team? No. So there's huge opportunity, and this is the time to take advantage of the opportunity now because the market is in such a weird spot.
Yeah. With
the NAR settlements and all the rest of it, this is your opportunity.
All right, did you guys find value in this today? Yeah. Give it up for Jason and Dan. All right, I appreciate every single one of you for being here with us today. Lunch is right out there. Have an amazing day. We'll see you soon.